So I'm sitting here after my beloved Sixers have been drubbed by the Celtics the night before, thinking of friction as it relates to sales and it relates to client services projects. This has happened now a handful of times just in the past few weeks with my clients where an opportunity is developing really rapidly. A client wants to get started really fast. They want to move forward. They're putting a lot of heat on the agency to get rolling. And understandably, my agency partners that I work with are excited about clients that are excited about them. There's this relief that's felt when that kind of burden is lifted and the client wants to move forward. In many of these cases, though, there's this little spidey sense tingling reptile brain thing happening where it's like we're moving too fast. We didn't dot that I, we didn't cross that T. This conversation's kind of going unsaid. We're glancing past this one important detail. It just feels like we're moving faster than perhaps we should. And my advice is just simply that, like, friction is going to happen in calibrating a collaboration the right way. And you get to decide where that friction occurs. If you're deciding to slow things down and demand that your client have the meeting that they don't have time for, have the conversation that they seem to be avoiding, dot the I's, cross the T's, really get into the details that you fear you may be whizzing by. That's deciding to experience the friction now, before anything's signed, before any money's changed hands, before commitments are made. You're experiencing the friction now. You're perhaps reducing fractionally the likelihood of this opportunity to develop into a paid collaboration. But you're deciding on your own terms to experience the friction right now, figure this out, get things sorted, and then move forward from here. If you don't do it here, you're just deciding to delay the friction to a later date during the project, when money's changed hands, when expectations are set, when deadlines are looming, when the stakes are much higher. And you don't often get to decide when that friction is going to revisit you later in the project. You can decide to experience the friction now. You can put your foot down and require that you meet their tech team. You can require that you hammer out the details of this support retainer so that expectations are clear. You can meet with the other agency they're working with to hammer out collaboration models. Like, you can insist, like, I'm not signing anything until we get these conversations organized. I'm not going to move forward until these I's are dotted. You can insist on the friction now, get everything right, and then take the friction out of the equation or decrease the amount of friction later in the project. Or you can take the bird in hand, you can run with it, you can not look a gift horse in the mouth, whatever cliche you want to use, race into the project with your spidey senses tingling, and some rainy Thursday, that friction's going to arrive, and then you're going to have to deal with it then, when the stakes are much higher, when stuff matters more. Now, you may be really good at that, and that may be a smart business decision to kind of get the project started, and we are going to be good at rounding all this out later, and I don't worry about that. But by and large, when that level of collaboration friction emerges because you step on it like a rake in the backyard and it snaps up and hits you in the face, it's not going to be a great day when that check comes due. So my only advice is, if you've been doing this long enough and you feel like in the back of your brain there's another conversation we need to have, the client wants to pay, put your foot down and experience the friction now. Get it out on the table. There's a groundswell of leads coming in because so many clients are experiencing employees leaving. They're experiencing this turnover. The great resignation is more of a great reshuffling, that a lot of enterprise teams are hemorrhaging people and agencies are having their time. So there may be undue pressure on you getting started. There may be more urgency in getting rolling. It may be that there's this, like, force behind your client, forcing them to move fast. It may not be that they're just in love with you. And if they're compelled by forces beyond their control to move at careless speed, they're not going to be as polite about the friction later when it comes time to visit. So again, you get to decide when the friction occurs. If you experience the friction now, you slow things down, you're demonstrating to your client that your process matters, that you're not willing and desperate to take their money, that if they snap your fingers, you're going to come running. You're exhibiting some control over the process, and you're also insulating yourself from when that friction is going to come due at some point when you don't expect it, when the stakes are much higher. So just dwell on that, figure out, if there's an opportunity to enforce the friction now and ensure a sunnier day later.